After 15 years of marriage, my wife dressed up for a night out, preparing for a date with her lover. She leaned in close and murmured, "Jake, I need to feel young and free again tonight." What she didn't realize was that I had already packed her bags and changed the locks on the doors. Meanwhile, her lover's wife sat at a restaurant, waiting for both of them, with divorce papers in hand. When Emily told me she wanted to feel wild again, I knew those words weren't meant for me. But what she failed to anticipate was that I was about to turn her perfect evening into her worst nightmare. Jake, a devoted contractor and loving husband from suburban Ohio, had spent 15 years building what appeared to be an ideal life with his wife, Emily. They had raised 2 children, shared laughter over family dinners, and weathered the highs and lows of marriage together. But lately, something had shifted. Emily, once warm and predictable, had become distant, almost secretive. Late nights at work, hushed phone calls, and the glow of her phone screen at odd hours replaced the quiet intimacy they once cherished. Jake noticed these changes immediately. Always an observant man, he couldn't ignore the shift in her behavior. When he asked about it, Emily's responses were evasive, her words laced with deflections. As the cracks in their relationship widened, Jake's mind raced with possibilities. Was she unhappy? Was he losing her? Rather than confront her directly, he pushed his doubts aside, convincing himself this was just a rough patch, something they would overcome like they always had. What he didn't realize, however, was that Emily's longing for excitement would soon push them both into a harrowing collision of betrayal, heartbreak, and an unforeseen twist that would alter their lives forever. As Jake continued to observe her subtle changes, his suspicions deepened. She spent more time glued to her phone, often smiling at messages she never shared. She dressed up more frequently without explanation. Each small shift weighed heavily on his mind, but the breaking point came one evening when he overheard part of a phone call. The words weren't entirely clear, but the tone was unmistakably intimate. Later, he caught a glimpse of a flirtatious message on Emily's phone, a sight that shattered his trust and confirmed his worst fears. Unable to confront her directly, Jake's anxiety spiraled, pushing him into silent observation. He mentally noted every inconsistency. Errands that took longer than usual, unexplained absences, and long stretches of time that she couldn't account for. With each passing day, his unease grew stronger, pushing him further into a world of doubt and dread. The more he watched, the clearer it became something was terribly wrong. Left with no choice but to act, Jake knew he had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. His suspicions had reached a boiling point, and an inevitable confrontation loomed on the horizon. Sitting alone in the living room, he reflected on 15 years of marriage, the memories they had built, and betrayal that now stood in its place. They had once built a life together, filled with cherished moments, but now heartbreak consumed Jake. Despite the pain, he resolved to stay level-headed and act with precision. A reckless confrontation would only lead to disaster. So he chose a calculated approach, handling the situation with patience and strategy. In this moment of clarity, Jake stumbled upon an unexpected revelation. Emily's lover was also married. This discovery ignited a new idea in his mind. Rather than confronting Emily alone, he decided to contact the man's wife. By working together, they could unravel the full extent of betrayal and ensure their unfaithful spouses faced the consequences. With a plan forming, Jake set his sights on executing it with precision. Determined to handle the affair with both composure and finality, he shifted his anguish into quiet resolve, preparing for the confrontation that would reshape everything. Now that Emily's infidelity was undeniable, Jake moved forward with a strategy. He waited patiently for the opportune moment, which arrived when Emily was upstairs, lost in the excitement of preparing for her romantic rendezvous. Unaware of what was unfolding beneath her feet, she meticulously chose her outfit, immersing herself in the illusion of secrecy. Meanwhile, Jake methodically set his plan in motion. He began by packing her belongings into suitcases, each carefully placed item a symbolic farewell to the life they had once shared. The neatly arranged luggage by the door stood as a silent testament to the end of their marriage. Next, he replaced the locks on all the doors, ensuring that when Emily returned, the home she once knew would no longer be hers. Each turn of the key echoed through the empty house, signifying Jake's resolve to shield himself and their children from further pain. With the house secure for her departure, Jake took the next step, reaching out to Emily's lover's wife. Speaking with her was both surreal and oddly liberating. They quickly realized they had both been living under the weight of the same deception, together. They devised a plan to expose the truth, agreeing to meet at the restaurant where their spouses had arranged to meet, standing united in their mission. As the evening progressed, Jake felt an unexpected sense of calm settle over him. The torment and fury that had once threatened to consume him had been replaced with unshakable determination. He knew the fallout would be chaotic, but there was comfort in reclaiming control. Every calculated move brought him closer to closure, reinforcing his conviction to see this through as the fateful night arrived. Emily was filled with eager anticipation, oblivious to the storm about to engulf her. She spent hours perfecting her look, selecting an outfit with a level of care Jake hadn't seen in years. Her excitement was unmistakable, though she tried to mask it behind vague excuses about her supposed plans for the evening. Just as she was about to step out the door, she turned to Jake with a sly smirk and whispered, "I need to feel young and free again tonight." Her words struck him like a knife, but he remained composed, offering only a silent, knowing stare. As the door clicked shut behind her, he stood unmoving, bracing himself for what was to come. AKJ stood motionless, gazing through the window as Emily's car disappeared into the night. Memories flooded his mind, the laughter, the struggles, and the love that had once held them together. In a single moment, 15 years of shared history unraveled. Though sorrow threatened to consume him, he steadied himself. There was no turning back now. At the restaurant, Jake's plan unfolded seamlessly. Emily's lover arrived first, expecting an intimate evening, only to be confronted by his enraged wife, divorce papers in hand. Her voice rose, demanding explanations, quickly drawing the attention of everyone nearby. What was supposed to be a secret rendezvous transformed into a public spectacle of betrayal and humiliation. Minutes later, Emily entered, her face alight with anticipation, until she took in the chaotic scene before her. She stopped in her tracks, the illusion of her perfect evening shattering instantly. Her lover, now trapped in a heated confrontation with his wife, was no longer the source of excitement but the center of a scandal. Reality crashed down on her. The glamorous escape she had envisioned had become a nightmare, and she was at the heart of it. Back at home, Jake waited in silence, knowing it wouldn't be long before Emily returned to find her suitcases neatly placed by the door and the locks replaced. His phone soon buzzed with frantic messages. Pleas, apologies, desperate attempts to manipulate him into letting her back in. He remained unmoved, ignoring each one, his focus fixed on rebuilding the life she had shattered. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, the chaos escalated. The betrayed wife, armed with undeniable proof and years of pent-up resentment, dominated the confrontation. She didn't just expose her husband's affair. She ensured that Emily and her lover faced the humiliation they deserved. She turned her fury on Emily, dismantling every feeble excuse with hard, irrefutable truths. The stunned audience watched, whispers spreading through the crowd, adding to the weight of the moment. For Jake, hearing about the fallout brought an unexpected sense of closure. Emily and her lover weren't just facing private repercussions. They were now subject to the merciless gaze of public judgment. What once felt like an insurmountable fracture in his life now seemed like the foundation for something new, something stronger. Though the sting of betrayal lingered, it also marked the beginning of a future without deception, without the person who had shattered his trust. As the dust settled, Jake took a deep breath, reflecting on the whirlwind of events that led him here. Exposing Emily's affair had never been about revenge. It was about reclaiming his dignity and finding peace. Losing 15 years of marriage was painful, but knowing he had taken control of his life, rather than allowing betrayal to define him, gave him solace. Facing the truth, though incredibly difficult, became his turning point. In hindsight, he realized that while the affair had fractured their marriage, it had also freed him. Now, he had the chance to rebuild on his own terms, unburdened by lies. With quiet determination, he resolved to focus on healing, embracing the peace that had eluded him for too long. His final thought lingered. Sometimes the harshest truths pave way for the strongest resolutions. Betrayal may break you, but it can also set you free. And now he posed a question to the audience. What would you have done in my place? Share your thoughts and comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more gripping stories. Here we serve just as hot, because sometimes karma needs a little help. Stay tuned for our next story, where loyalty isn't just expected, it's tested. If you're under 18, proceed with caution. This isn't for the faint-hearted.